Hey, good morning and welcome to D.C. Today. I'm Del Walters in Washington. Yesterday, the government took a major step forward in connection with the January 6th insurrection, charging those 11 members of the Oath Keepers with seditious conspiracy. In a nutshell, trying to overthrow the government. Now, I know something about this seditious conspiracy because for me, the year was 1984, and the group then was the Covenant, the Sword, the Arm of the Lord. I actually investigated them. That year, as was the case following January 6, many in white America, and even in my own newsroom, had difficulty thinking that a group of people who operated on the Arkansas-Missouri border would actually try to overthrow the government. But that spring, a neo-Nazi shot and killed a Missouri highway patrolman. And then April, 300 ATF agents and members of law enforcement surrounded the compound, seizing thousands of rounds of ammunition, explosives, surface-to-air missiles, and a 55-gallon drum of cyanide. I later found out that ATF actually used the footage of my interview with the leader of the CSA to see where those landmines might be placed. They traced my footsteps when they entered the compound to make sure they didn't step on one. America's long history of the threat from within finally came home to roost, though, on January 6th. The question now, what will happen next? Yesterday, the government charging Stewart Rhodes and 10 other members of the Oath Keepers with seditious conspiracy. Rhodes and the others now face up to 20 years behind bars. He is due in court on Tuesday. Much more on that coming up in our next half hour. But first, we want to talk about the fight over voting rights. The Democrats struggling to pass something, anything, hitting roadblock after roadblock. And a plan to change the filibuster rules appears to be falling apart. The House approving a measure Thursday that combined key parts of two voting bills. Meanwhile, President Biden spending the day in Congress trying to hammer out a deal, but in the end, defeat. But the president says he's not giving up.
Like every other major civil rights bill that came along, if we missed the first time, we could come back and try it a second time.
So guess what? That plan to do away with the filibuster to get a voting rights bill passed appears to have stalled again. Senators Sinema and Manchin still opposed to the idea. Changes cannot be made without their support. And joining us this Friday morning, some of the brightest minds in politics, political consultant Cristina Gonzalez and BNC contributor Atiba Madyun. Atiba, I'll begin with you. Stalled is the polite word of putting this. If this was a car, it would be on the side of the road with no wheels left on it. Rusting right now.
You know, if this was the last president and something like this had happened, or we even see it now in his post-presidency, primary them. Primary them. Like this whole thing in terms of, well, we've got to get along and we've got to keep the caucus together. It's evident the Sinema and Manchin are going to be roadblocks. So primary them. Get them out of office. A couple of days ago, Naira asked me, whether or not it was something that Biden going to Georgia, whether or not that was a good idea. Biden needs to go to West Virginia. I guarantee you there are a lot of people on the ground right now in West Virginia that are upset about Build Back Better. I bet you there are a whole lot of them that are going to be upset come next week when they don't get their child tax credits checks in the mail. So this thing that what the Democrats are doing in terms of talking about Manchin and Sinema, it's no more different than obstruction than what we're seeing from the Republican Party. And I think that the Democrats really just need to do whatever they can through executive order. The president needs to do whatever it is he can do and use the power of his bully pulpit to get some of these things done. He's not going to be able to get everything done, and there will be legal challenges. But those legal challenges help to push this further down the road and get people who will vote for Democrats in the midterms at least to recognize that there is something being done.
Every Democrat supports the John Lewis Act. Every Republican opposes it. Here's Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer Tuesday. He says that Tuesday is going to be the day when everyone has to put up or shut up. Christina, take a listen.
Over the next few days, the United States Senate will face a critical and unavoidable question. Are its members going to act to protect our democracy and protect voting rights? Or will its members choose the path of obstruction, inaction, and side with the big lie overtaking our precious experiment in self-rule?
Cristina, let me go back to my car analogy that I used earlier with Atiba. By going forward with this vote, they have basically put the president now inside the car without the wheels on the side of the Beltway. resting. And it looks bad for the White House. Regardless of what happens, the president went down to Georgia. He said, we're going to get this done. Guess what? He's not getting it done. It's embarrassing.
I can't even wrap my
Christina,
head
you're
around
muted.
it.
Okay, gotcha.
You got okay.
We got you.
Sorry. Yeah, it's such bad strategy here. It makes him look incredibly weak. So much of what Biden campaigned on was his ability to unite the two sides of Congress. He can't even get his own party on board with these very simple, straightforward policies that every Democrat should allegedly be supporting. And the fact that they keep moving forward with whatever strategy that they have with both Sinema and Manchin in the bag, saying we can convince them, even though they've been very clear, we are not movable on either the filibuster or the Voting Rights Act. They continue down this path without any leverage, makes the Democrats, makes Biden look super weak. The people in power right now, ostensibly, are both Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, not Joe Biden. So it's really, really bad strategy. It gives me very little hope. And the other possibility here is that Joe Biden has no intention of actually passing this. And this is a way for him to look like he's supporting something without actually having to support it, and throwing Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema under the bus as the culprits behind this. But either way, it just makes him look completely powerless and ineffectual. What's the point of him being the president if he's not going to flex that muscle?
Atiba, there is embarrassment, and then there is the street phrase dissed. And in this case, the president is being dissed. I want to play this. This is Arizona Senator Kristen Sinema before the president even made his way to Capitol Hill. Take a listen.
While I continue to support these bills, I will not support separate actions that worsen the underlying disease of division infecting our country. Eliminating the 60-vote threshold on a party line with the thinnest of possible majorities to pass these bills that I support will not guarantee that we prevent demagogues from winning office.
Atiba, you know who is laughing right now? Every single Republican in Congress who is saying, guess what? We've already done this. We did it with Supreme Court justices. We did it with judges during the Obama administration. We most recently did it with trying to get the Pentagon budget passed. They get rid of the filibuster when they damn well please to get rid of the filibuster. And in this case, she basically just embarrassed she dissed the president. I mean, that's the street phrase.
Yeah, she dissed him, and it's up to the president and his strategists around it to come up with a strategy for how they're going to push back. None of this gets done without the president pushing the envelope and pushing this down. Now, all of this also, though, has to continue to be us on the ground, continue to raise our voices, continuing to shout as we need to. As my friend Melissa likes to tell me, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We got to keep squeaking. We got to keep talking. We got to keep pushing. Because the president would not have gone to Georgia had it not been for the meetings and the Congressional Black Caucus and a number of other voting rights organizations continuing to fight and continue to push this down the road. So we've got to continue to stay in the fight. Yesterday, you mentioned Joe Madison in terms of his hunger strike. These things are what's happening to keep this out front. And the president's not going to get away with it. But again, this is the midterms. This is, Schumer just needs to bring this up in an up or down vote so we can see who is with us and who's against us and what we need to do in order to get the votes in the Congress so that they can get this done.
Christina, I want to play this soundbite from the president yesterday. It's an understatement to say that he is miffed. Take a listen.
It's about election subversion, not just whether or not people get to vote. Who counts the vote? That's what this is about. That's what makes this so different than anything else we've ever done. I don't know that we can get it done, but I know one thing. As long as I have a breath in me, as long as I'm in the White House, as long as I'm engaged at all, I'm going to be fighting to change the way these legislatures have moved.
Christina, the president can pound his fist on the desk all he wants. The bottom line is, as Dr. King said, America has written a check to Black America that's come due, and there are now insufficient funds in President Biden's political account, and for that matter, the Democratic political account. We have the desire as African Americans, But the bottom line in Congress is you have to have the votes, and we don't have the votes.
Yeah, and he talks about this issue as if the most that he can do in this moment is be an advocate, just like you and me. Show up to that bully pulpit, given his bully pulpit is much bigger, he's a much bigger audience than you or me do, but but he can do so much more. He has so much leverage as the president to actually get things done, and I don't see him using that power the way that he could potentially do. I don't know if it's because he doesn't know how to wield that power. I don't know if it's because he has bad advisors telling him how to use this power. I don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I just don't understand why he's referring to this issue as if it's the most that he could do is use his bully pulpit and be an advocate and push Congress to do the right thing in this moment, when he could do so much more behind the scenes. And I don't see him being that bulldog that he needs to be.